Kia ora. So, I've been up for a little while. I got woken up by a dream that I think was actually a call for help. So, you know that the hantavirus, I call it Hunter, Hunter. I don't know if it's Hunter or Hunter, but I pronounce it Hunter virus. There's an outbreak. It's an exceptionally rare virus, but they're saying that it's deadly and a deadly strain and it's broken out on a cruise ship in the American waters, and Trump and RFK Jr. they fired all the inspectors, and I thought, and the inspectors of the cruise ships, where it's their job to look for viruses and bacteria and stuff on the ships, on the cruise ships, and that piqued my interest. And I reposted it, and then I fell asleep, and I had a dream that I was on a nature walk. I was walking along, through the trees and forest and all that, and I heard a man calling for help. And I started walking along the stream, and there was a man drowning in water. He was drowning. He was struggling to keep his head above water, and he was drowning. And he said his name was Michael. And I was like, I was like, just hang on, like I'm going to get you help. And I ran to the house next door, and I said, we need to call an ambulance. We need to call 911. I specifically said 911. And a little while later, I heard the ambulances, and though I never saw him getting rescued, I was worried about whether he was going to get rescued. And then I found out later that he had been saved. And then I woke up after my dream. I had moved into the house that I'd called for help, 911. By the way, I had moved into it, which was weird, but I woke up and I saw a post about Tedros having his conscience was confessing about how they have vaccines, that the vaccines were designed to kill infants. In his own words on video, Tedros admits that the vaccines were designed to kill infants. And then that just triggered like a whole series of code drops for me, because remember the dream that I had where Gates and Fauci and Tedros were executed by firing range. Remember they all got shot. There was a fourth person there, but I don't know who the fourth person was. But at the end of the dream, the Queen lifts up her champagne and she says, "Cheers." And I've been saying from day one that she was coming after Tedros, that God was after the World Health Organization. God was going to tear them all down. And he's been saying, I need to line it all up perfectly so that when Trump falls, they all fall down with him. Well, now it makes sense. Now it's all fallen into place. Remember the dream I had the other day, the prophecy puzzle piece, and all the people were pulling up the sledge, the green sludge, from the water reservoirs. And I said that things were going to get pulled up from the past, from things that I had documented based on my intuition and predictions that was going to come true, that was going to prove I was right, and people are going to be like, oh my God, Debbie was right. And then they'll realise, holy crap, God's real. Because whatever this thing was that was going to happen was going to prove definitively God is real. And He's here. And He's got everyone's backs. And I asked Him to do something. Remember the other day in my live, was it when my foot got grabbed? I said to Him, do something to prove that you're here so that people aren't afraid, because they keep thinking that people like von der Leyen and Gates and Trump and Starmer and all of them are going to pull off their grand plan to kill us all off and steal our lands and poison our waters and, steal our money and all of that sort of thing. And I said, remember, God, do something. Excuse me, sorry, I've just been, oh my God, I've just been eating my breakfast bars, my muesli bars, my protein bars. I've just had a coffee and some protein bars. They lasted a week. They're so yummy, but they're very filling, so that'll be me for breakfast now. So anyway, well, he's just done it, because then what happened was I started realising that this hantavirus, which is a variant of COVID, that's what I posted last night. Oh, by the way, the hantavirus is everything I said. It's just like typhoid and malaria and the Spanish flu. It's all COVID. All of it. Every pandemic we've ever had, pretty much since bloody the plague, it's all COVID. It's all the same symptoms. And the thing is, with Michael in the water, you get fluid on the lungs. It's a pulmonary, it attacks like your lungs, and you get fluid on your lungs, and you get like pneumonia-like symptoms and all that sort of thing, just like COVID. It attacks the lungs and your heart and all of that. So that's why Michael was drowning in his own fluids, drowning, yeah. So I'm wondering whether this cruise ship that Donald Trump targeted, because what happened was I realised that I was right about Pegasus. And I keep saying to the king, Trump's got something to do with water and poop. And this hantavirus is spread through contaminated water and rat poo. And I was like, oh my God. He used bioterrorism because they're trying to create a lockdown, force everyone to go into lockdown so that they can fake a fuel crisis. They're going to blame it on it's a pandemic, but it's to hide the fact that they're inflating fuel to rip everybody off to stage a fake fuel crisis, and they need a lockdown to do it. So it's like, well, in order to save fuel, to rip everybody off and this whole, because I said it's got something to do with poop and water. This is when Trump came to visit, and I said they're targeting the king. And then the king's just gone to America and remember was becoming spellbound, and the Queen said, don't drink the water. Don't drink the alcohol. Don't drink it. Don't drink what's in that cup. So I said, did they give him tainted water? Did they put it in Coke because of the tuxedo cat being hit by the Coca-Cola train is what I call it. The dream my son had. Like I was trying to figure it out, and I was pulling all these posts up from the past when I first started investigating this whole Pegasus thing and their plan and the NHS's plan and Starmer's plan to pull off some mass pandemic where they've already been getting the tents and that ready for it like last year. June, July of last year, the NHS started getting tents and getting like caskets and stuff ready, body bags They ordered hundreds of thousands of body bags, which means they were preparing for a pandemic that's deadly, and this is the hantavirus. And I'm wondering whether there's somebody on that cruise ship called Michael who was praying to God. He's sick. I'm just wondering, could there be somebody on that cruise ship called Michael who's got the hantavirus and he's been praying to God? And this is God answering his prayer and coming to the rescue. Because I went and called 911, which means me alerting everyone and everyone getting rescued. Any variant of COVID, whether it's hantavirus, typhoid, Spanish flu, any variant of it, any pandemic that comes out, it's going to have similarities to COVID. All you have to do to kill the COVID virus and the bacteria and the cells and that they're creating in the chemistry labs in America and in Ukraine and all that, is just take just take zinc. Take zinc every day and oregano oil with black seed in it. That's it. Zinc kills it. You'll never get sick again if you take zinc and oregano oil. So then I remembered that Kabul 13 dream I had years ago about the cruise ship with the people hanging off it. And then there'd been some sort of revolution, America on fire, and Washington, D.C. splits off and floats off into the water, and a whale jumps over it. And that's when I realised, oh my God, that was about this. Donald Trump, this is when Biden was in power, by the way, and we had that whole stuff with the Kabul 13 going down. And then after the Kabul 13, I recorded a jump where they came to me. I got woken up and they came to me and they said that they were going to help get revenge on what had been done to them. Because remember, with what happened in Afghanistan, and I just said in my post, the reason why they popped up in that dream all those years ago is because it was a foretelling of what Trump was going to pull off in order to create a lockdown and a fuel shortage, being at war with Iran. And the Kabul 13 said that they were working together with God to hold everyone responsible for what they'd done for to cause their deaths. And I think this is it. I think that it's basically them in the dream back then. I mean, it was in the jump back then. I mean, is them basically saying that Trump has sent Americans off to die in Iran just so that he can get his hands on oil and inflate stock prices. And to create a fake fuel crisis, they're bringing in a pandemic, which is the hantavirus. And then it brought up me bringing up the codes about Poseidon. And remember I was saying the other day with Sam Heslop about Poseidon being the son of Orion. And there being cult symbology. Well, Trump's done this whole thing on the water, and God knew he was going to do it because Poseidon and Neptune and that were coming up in all my codes. And you know how they like symbology. And then when I was pulling up my Neptune codes, I saw something that I had posted about Neptune and rats and crows and a mutiny. And mutinies happen on ships. And the hantavirus is caused by rat poop. And I couldn't believe it, and I was like, holy crap, the codes were there the whole time. He really is, him and Starmer and that, they're all trying to pull off this pandemic to hide the fact that they're inflating fuel, oil, to bring in a lockdown so that they can bring in 15-minute cities and keep people in like open air concentration camps, just so that they can get at the king. And I found codes where I was saying, did they give the king water? Did he give the king water? Did he give him MAGA water? Like, I was trying to figure out where the connection to water was. And I found all these codes, which in my dream the other day, remember all the people were diving in the water and bringing up the sludge, and it was purifying the water. And I said the sludge will be my posts from the past. And that it will have people going, oh my God, Debbie was right and God is real. Well, it's just happened. And, you know, because devils and demons are forced to, they can't lie in the presence of God. And Tedros has literally just come out and said the vaccines were designed to kill infants. His words exactly. So all these people that have been treating anti-vaxxers like shit for years, not only have they been putting their children at risk because they trust people who hid the fact that their plan was to kill their children, but they also injected their children and themselves with vaccines that are filled with the hormones of tortured, terrified children. And they're the ones acting like they're superior. And now they're the ones who have got cursed blood in their veins. They've got murdered children running through their veins and their children's veins, and they were the ones acting like they were superior. So now suddenly anti-vaxxers aren't looking so crazy and stupid now, eh? We're not the threats. The anti-vaxxers were never the threat. They were the smart ones. They've put, there's SARS in those vaccines, there's adrenochrome in those vaccines, there's chimp DNA. So now I keep thinking, like, how's the king's health? How is he feeling? Is he okay? I said if the king or the Queen Consort Camilla gets sick, especially if it's to do with a chest infection, cold, flu, anything like that, they tried to get at the king. I said when Trump came to visit, they were after the king, that him and Starmer are planning something to do with a virus or a pandemic where they're specifically going to target the king. And I said it's got something to do with water and possibly poop. And I couldn't understand it. I couldn't figure it out. And then the hantavirus came on that cruise ship. And then it turns out that RFK Jr. and Trump fired everyone whose job it was to inspect the cruise ships for bacteria and viruses just before the hantavirus kicked off on that cruise ship, which means it was all done by design. And I thought, well, okay, so Pegasus, and then that's when everything, all the codes started dropping and coming into land. And the Queen popping up and saying, Rupert, EOSP. And I said it's got something to do with the whiskey, that whiskey tariff thing. The king's been lied to somehow, and it's got something to do with Trump and Starmer, and he's going to lose money and blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, okay, but could it also be because they put something in his water? Because in becoming spellbound, you see a hand put belladonna in his drink. And so that's why I was thinking poisoned water when I was trying to figure it all out. Don't drink the poisoned water. So now this whole hunter virus thing's come out. It's like, and I found messages from last year and that when I was like, did they give the king water? Did the king drink water? Or did they put it in Coca-Cola? Did the king drink Coca-Cola? Because my son said the train, when it's about to, the train that's driven by Satan is about to hit the Tuxedo Cat, and before it crashes, it crumples like a can of Coke. And even though I know it will absolutely be to do with the Coke heads on the train coming from Ukraine, you know, Ms. Macron and Starmer just before the arson thing kicked off with the rent boys, like the day before or something, the fact that he said it crumpled like a can of Coke stuck in my head. Coca-Cola. And I keep thinking it might be a code. So it's like, did the king drink Coca-Cola when he was in America? Did they hide something in the Coca-Cola? They gave him something to drink, and if the king gets sick, they tried to kill him. If it turns out we find out that the king got sick, or anyone who went to America with the king got sick, they tried to kill him. And I was right about everything. And the thing was, in becoming spellbound, there were people working for the king that were helping Kierkegaard and Trump. People who were supposed to be working for him were actually working against him. Because like they're all in on the plan. And so when my foot got grabbed and I said, I'm going to prove to you God is real, God do something, well, he's just done it. I had that dream. And because the thing is, remember I said Vladimir jumped in the water. He was wearing an army uniform, a military uniform, and he jumped in the water and he was helping pull up the sludge. While I was going through my notes, everything that I documented a few minutes ago, after having that dream about Michael, I found the stuff about the soldiers and the Russian soldiers getting poisoned with the poisonous water, and I said, did they test this poisonous water out on these Russian soldiers before contaminating the king and everybody else? People were having convulsions in that during the plague. When they had the plague, they were having convulsions. People were having convulsions with COVID, you know, having seizures and all that. So I was like, did they test it out on these Russian soldiers first before giving it to the king? And testing it out on the soldiers first, then the people on the cruise ship, because you have to bear in mind that all this was kicking off at the time that the king was in America. So if there's any news that hits that the king's sick or the queen consort has gotten sick and they've tried to say it's seasonal flu or they end up in hospital with pneumonia or anything like that, they tried to kill him. And they put it in his water or his drink, his Coca-Cola, something he drank. They may have used Coca-Cola to hide the fact that it was tainted, because you got to remember it's rat poop, contaminated rat poop. So now I'll be watching to make sure that the king's okay. But I'm just wondering whether this dream that I had about Michael, I'm wondering if there's someone on that cruise ship that's been put on lockdown, if he's sick, He was just keeping his head above the water. The water was rising and he was just keeping his head above the water. And I knew if I didn't run and get him help, he was going to drown. I don't know why I didn't pull him up out of the water myself. I just ran and called an ambulance, and then the ambulance came, and it was ages before I found out if he'd been rescued. But he had been rescued. They did save him. So it'd be interesting to see if there's anyone on that cruise ship called Michael who either is sick and was praying to God for help, or he's scared on that ship and he's praying to God for help. So if he ever hears this, God heard your message and God is getting you help because he's exposing them all. He's pulled everything out from the past, all the sludge is coming up in those reservoirs. I said it right. In the reservoir. Sometimes I get it right, sometimes I don't. Remember I said they were like, they were representative of my little files of posts and predictions and investigations and codes and all that, all neatly, like contained, and that they were going to get pulled up from the past to prove that something I said was right, and people were going to be clutching their pearls. Oh my God, Debbie was right, and God is real. What's just happened. So there needs to be arrests, and there will be a mutiny, and all hell's about to break loose. I said to people on X, was it yesterday or the day before, buckle up, because we're about to go on a roller coaster ride. So get ready, because shit's about to hit the fan and hit everybody who came after the king and Vladimir Putin. And some really disturbing stuff's just come out about Johnny Depp as well, which is absolutely heartbreaking to me, because Johnny Depp just paid Yodok Cello a fortune to go to America and perform for him. So now Yodok Cello's I was just sitting there thinking, Chris, Martin, him, if it's not Trump and Musk, it's the Illuminati getting their hands in on getting in there, eh? Got to get in there. Devastated. He wouldn't have known, but I can't associate with people that are associating with people like that. I can't be around people who he wouldn't have known, though. He wouldn't know that sort of thing. But it's devastating. Anyway, so Switzerland's brought in lockdowns and the 15-minute city bullshit because of this fake oil pandemic in Iran. And that was just devastating as well, because it's like I thought they were better than that. But I guess not. So now I can't go to Switzerland. Switzerland is 100% out, because they are just as bad as all the others. So I don't know, maybe now this stuff's come out about Trump and using bioterrorism and that to create another pandemic to get rid of the king like they did the Queen. Maybe I am headed for America. because the new America is not going to be anything like the old America. I just don't know. I just know that Switzerland, the country, what the government have started doing has been the biggest shock and disappointment, I think, out of them all. Out of all the countries I could have gone to, Switzerland's the one that's been the biggest shock with how quickly they turned into Nazi Germany. It's like that country of all countries. So if only Vladimir hadn't of eaten Trump and Musk's poison apple, I could have gone to Russia, but it looks like it's he's opening the door for America, which is fine. I mean, I'm happy with that. I'm not complaining. If he gets rid of Trump and Musk, I'll be perfectly fine going there. But I don't know. All I know is that Switzerland is 100 million bajillion gajillion % no. Just like Russia. And yeah, Russia signed up to the B system. You got to do facial recognition for this, that, and the other thing. AI, this, that, and the other thing. Signed up to the B system, and that just absolutely ripped my heart out because I thought Putin was better than that. So it's like everywhere I turn, I've been let down by people who have been fooled and lured by the Illuminati and the cult of Epstein, and yeah, it's just gut-wrenching. So I don't know. I just know wherever it is I'm going, I'm going there pretty quick. Like things are about to change overnight, because that's what my teacher said. When the prophecy hits and the world knows your name, everything will change overnight. She said you'll go to bed one night and wake up in the morning and the whole world's going to know your name, and then you'll never be able to walk down the street again. And that's what I said in my prophecy puzzle piece dream. I said, whatever it is I do, it's going to, like, the whole world's going to know my name, and then everything's going to change overnight. And then I'll never be allowed to walk down the street again. So I'm bracing myself, because I only had that dream 2 days ago, and it's already happened. So I need to get ready. And I was told that I would have my man in my life. And I'm hours or days away from my whole life changing. And I literally have no one in my life. So I don't know. It's like I said, unless he's going to fall out of the sky and land in my lap, I don't see how I'm going to meet someone that quick. My teacher always said land of ease. And that America would welcome me with open arms. Excuse me, that America would welcome me with open arms. If I take Trump and Musk down, though, I guarantee they would. So everything's coming to pass. Every single thing I said, from the Pegasus, the pandemic, the fake lockdowns to hide that they want to inflate the oil prices, and this whole going to war with Iran, their plan to kill the king, the same way that they killed their mum, his mum. I was right about everything. They tried to use the Hunter virus to do it. First it was the fake measles outbreak, then it was the fake meningitis outbreak. On a good note, though, everybody's giving Elon Musk shit for getting caught out pretending to be his mum and his dad on X. He's also tried to be his own kid as well, apparently. And apparently he's losing a shit ton of money with his AI bollocks. So, you know, it's like I said, God's coming after him personally, because he came after me. He's my nemesis. He's Gideon Knight. Remember in the Quantum Menace, he's my nemesis. And God is coming after him personally because he came after me personally. And God took that personally. So God's dealing with Elon Musk. So it's just a matter of time before I think those two go down together. And then if I'm right, and this whole Hunter virus thing, it not only takes Trump down, it'll take Starmer, the World Health Organization, von der Leyen, the whole lot. My alien Zorb ball dream from 2018, where I was saying about how God was flipping the World Economic Forum and the World Health Organization and the United Nations signs and that around, flipping them around. And I said because he's going to take them all down. NATO, all of them, all the letter club. Well, now that Tedros has come out with that slip of the tongue, conscience confessing, I call it, that's when devils and demons confess because they're standing in the presence of God. Now that he's come out and said that they kill kids on purpose, it was like the final puzzle piece that opened the door to everything I'd been saying in the past about Pegasus, them killing the Queen, their plan to kill the King, to wipe out the King David bloodline, blah, 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 like I was right about everything. And it's just hilarious because I said to God, do something to prove to the world that you're here and that you're real. And, well, he's just done it. And I even said in one of my codes, God's about to do something to blow you out of the water. It's going to blow you out of the water. And now I had assumed it meant to do with like one of his naval ships. But no, it was a cruise ship. The same cruise ship that's in the dream that I had long before my ex tried to kill me, that I called the Kabul 13 Afghanistan dream, because it's all connected. And if you listen to that video, it's actually quite shocking how accurate that dream is. And now Washington is, Trump's going to be held accountable for it. Like, it's going to absolutely, when this gets out, when all of this stuff gets out, he's done for. Him and and then it'll take Starmer down as well, because they were both in on it together. So the American president and the British Prime Minister are going to go down for a plot to kill the King. And then von der Leyen and the World Health Organization and that will go down with them. They're all going to go down. So if there is a Michael on that cruise ship and he has got the virus, or he's scared of getting it and he's scared of what's coming, God heard your prayers and he's answered them and he sent help. Now you remember my snake's dream, where I was avoiding all the snakes, and there were snakes in the water, and I was showing my cousin how to climb over the snakes without getting bitten. And when I ran into that general store, the voice of God said, don't worry, we see what they did, we're sending help. Yeah. Snakes under the water, poisonous water, toxic water, poisonous water. So God saw everything. And I've been documenting it since last year. Since I figured out they killed the Queen. That's how long, well, so since 2024 I've been documenting it. Just after Starmer stole the election. The Prime Minister who never took the oath of office. There's no documented record of him taking the oath of office, which means he's an illegitimate Prime Minister. So, Freedom of Information Act. It's all there. I showed you the evidence. They have no record of him taking the oath of office. So, I'm going to go now. I just hope the king doesn't get sick. If the king gets sick, regardless of which, arrests need to be made. But if the king gets sick, they absolutely need to be making arrests, because it means I was right. I mean, I'm right anyway. I'm not doubting that I was wrong. I know I'm right. But now it's like everything's coming into land, everything's fallen into place. The last puzzle piece has fallen into place. And it was because he was dumb enough to try and pull off this pandemic on a cruise ship. It just was like tied everything into a nice little bow for God to hand the world a present to say, look at what those evil bastards have done. Debbie was right. Right, so I'm going to go because I need the bashmoom. The Illuminati. They're getting their ass handed to them on the plate. Yay! Down with the cult of Epstein. Down with the Illuminati. Speak to you later. God save the king. Mwah. And Vladimir Putin.